Go, we have our new tropical depression, so we'll start with that and then we'll get into our local forecast, which is looking drier as well as hotter in the next couple of days. Here is Tropical Depression 13, formed this morning around 10 a.m. and it's moving west-northwest pretty fast now. Winds not very strong, but certainly taking on a bit more of that typical tropical structure out here in the Atlantic. We're expecting it to fairly soon, maybe even within the next 12 to 24 hours or so, become tropical storm. Lee looks like the name that it would likely get. And then very soon, by Thursday, perhaps already a hurricane. And then at this point, you can see it jumps from a 2, potentially Category 2 on Friday, maybe to even a 3 or 4. The National Hurricane Center does have it at a 4 status. That would mean winds of 135 miles per hour or higher. And that would be for the weekend as it may pass just to the north of some of these Caribbean islands. North, it looks like, of the Caribbean Sea itself. But this is the part of its forecast path where it is going to lose some wind shear, which will probably at least limit development somewhat over the next few days. So it will probably be able to tap into these extremely warm waters. These are near record warm sea surface temperatures in the middle to upper 80s out here in this part of the Atlantic. That's pretty common for the Gulf, but for this part of the Atlantic, that is really, really warm. So we are expecting it to maybe even do that rapid strengthening where it really jumps up in intensity pretty fast somewhere in this range, which would be late this week into the weekend. But our models are showing actually a very good consensus here off to the north, maybe even north of the Bahamas, and then maybe curving and paralleling perhaps the East Coast, getting into the farther long-term portion of the forecast. So at this point, we're not expecting it really to track into the Caribbean or get into the Gulf. Now, we'll watch everything really closely. It's still very early, but this is really more the situation that we're expecting. And why? Well, this is the steering pattern. We have a high pressure ridge to its north. So that's going to bring it out to the west-northwest. And eventually it will start to curve around this area. Now, this high may eventually weaken, but look what's happening here. We also have a reinforcing trough of low pressure that will be surging out. Now, this is a long-term forecast, so this is just what we're thinking. But you see how the National Hurricane Center forecast path stops here. Of course, it keeps extending in time the closer you get. But it does look like that low pressure indicated with this circle here would be moving to the north as, again, there's this trough here moving off of the U.S. So we will see, but at this point, that's why we're thinking it's going to take that path farther to the north and not continue farther westward. Again, we'll watch everything closely. There is one more wave coming off of Africa right now as we speak, off the coast of Africa. There's one little spot that was the remnants of another system near the Azores, has a very low chance of redeveloping, but clearly not going to be a concern really for most of the Atlantic or eventually land areas. But this one might take that slightly more northward movement and maybe stay even pretty far out. In fact, the models for this one are kind of scattered with it sort of stopping or eventually fizzling somewhere out here in the Atlantic. So this one may not be something that we're watching getting close to the Caribbean or anything like that. We'll keep you updated, of course, but no threats for us at this point. The next name is Lee, and then after that it would be Margot, and then Nigel, Ophelia, and Philippe. In our local forecast, we're at 91 right now. A drier day after those heavy downpours, 6-7 inches of rain reported in some spots of New Orleans, near 5 inches around Slidell. But instead, we're drier, and that means we're hotter. Our high temperatures today in the lower 90s, not far from average though, and then in the 80s for this evening. Here's our radar, just a few very small showers. Our rain chance today about 20 to 30%. This is through this afternoon, tracking it here through 4:35. Not a whole lot of rain as we have high pressure building back over the next few days. And then this is tomorrow morning. We're starting off in the 70s. Tomorrow does look like a hotter day. Our temperatures will eventually be getting into the upper 90s by the end of the week. But a surface cold front is going to move in this weekend with slight rain chances. It may even make it a little less humid Saturday and especially Sunday.